Hello everyone and welcome to the My Greek Island podcast, Bitesize Greek series edition with your teachers George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou. Γεια σου Γιώργο.
Γεια σου Maria, τι κάνεις?
Καλά εσύ?
I'm good. Have you missed me?
Of course I've missed you. I mean, it's not as if I see you every other day. So what are we learning today, Yorgo?
Well, in today's mini episode, and it has been a while since we had a bite-sized Greek learning edition episode, and they're going to be more coming out, so you can check previous ones in our back catalogue about making basic introductions. Today's topic is one that is super close to our hearts, and one we know that our listeners will love when they're in Greece. It is food related. I'm building up the tension. And it's all about being at the restaurant, or should I say, being at the taverna.
Ah, the taverna. I mean, the Greek food scene is so much more than a taverna. But don't get me wrong, we do love the basics done well. But gastronomy in Greece can be such an experience to the palate.
It certainly can. We've experienced it firsthand. So, without further ado, sit back, manifest Greek restaurant taverna vibes for 2023, or visualize yourself sat in a taverna of an evening, ready to tuck in to some Greek deliciousness.
Πάμε Γιώργο. Hello and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island with your hosts George and Maria.
So learning a new language can be very daunting, take courage and lots of time, and it can also be really demotivated when you don't seem to make progress. Now this series is all about providing you with the instant language to use, get a reaction, and hopefully learn a thing or two that will stick. And who knows, you might even be inspired to start learning Greek properly.
Yeah, and when you go on holiday, you just need those few words, phrases, and some slang, and you're good to go, right?
Exactly. So, let's get stuck in to the basics of going to the taverna. Before arriving at your dining location or your taverna, should you not have made a reservation, now many of the places that will be popular with locals probably need a reservation in the height of season, you will be asking for a table.
Ah, so this is where we're going to require some numbers, isn't it? Shall we start with 1 to 5?
Yep, exactly. We'll do numbers 1 to 5, and if you're more than 5, maybe count to 5 and then point to the rest of the people, unless you want to go on YouTube and do the numbers if you've got a group of 15. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're the numbers 1 to 5. So let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So before Maria does it with her own pronunciation, you might want to pause and see if you can have a go yourself before Maria comes in.
Okay, and here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Perfect. And now we're going to put the phrase together about asking for a table for 4 people. Γεια σας. Ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα παρακαλώ. So we're doing a basic introduction of saying hello. Γεια σας. Ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα παρακαλώ.
Γεια σας. Ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα παρακαλώ.
Which literally means, hello, one table for 4 people please. Now,
And the use of hello is the formal version of hello.
Exactly. And for those of you listening and have listened to previous episodes, you might know another way of saying hello is yasu.
Which is the informal version. Yasu.
Perfect. Now, you could be looking to extend your questions about a table with asking for a table with a view in the garden or perhaps next to the waves or next to the sea. So you could have Γεια σας, ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα με θέα or στην αυλή or δίπλα από το κύμα. Παρακαλώ. So, we've got Γεια σας, ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα με θέα with view or στην αυλή in the garden or δίπλα από το κύμα next to the sea. Παρακαλώ.
So here we gave you με θέα with a view, στην αυλή in the garden or δίπλα από το κύμα next to the waves or next to the water, which is a very Greek phrase.
Doing it all from the top. Γεια σας, ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα δίπλα από το κύμα. Παρακαλώ. Because I always want to be next to the sea if you're by the sea. And most Greeks want to be literally next to the sea, won't they?
Yeah, that's very true.
You've got your table and you're sitting there and you want to now ask for the menu if it's not already been provided. So what we've got here is το μενού παρακαλώ. So the menu please. Το μενού παρακαλώ. Το μενού παρακαλώ.
Or you could also ask for recommendations. And the way to ask for recommendations is τι προτείνετε. So that's τι προτείνετε. And one more time. Τι προτείνετε, which means what would you recommend? Or you could ask what is the dish of the day. Το πιάτο της ημέρας. Το πιάτο της ημέρας. And one last time. Το πιάτο της ημέρας.
Perfect. And obviously, if your pronunciation is amazing and they think you are Greek or speak Greek very well, and you might be nervous that you won't know what they're going to answer, don't worry, because chances are they will be speaking English. And the purpose of this series is just to get you some quick Greek phrases that you can use when you're in Greece on holiday and to impress. One thing you might really need to bear in mind, and something that's really important for all listeners, is you might want to let them know that you have an allergy. And probably most people with a severe allergy will research this before, but allergy is actually a Greek word, I think. So we're going to give you the word for I have an allergy. So έχω, which means I have. Έχω αλλεργία. And then obviously you need to know the item that you've got an allergy to. But I have an allergy is έχω αλλεργία. Έχω αλλεργία.
Amazing. Now let's get the ordering as, I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to get a bit peckish thinking about all this food, George. And I can bet anything you're probably visualizing a moussaka right now.
Definitely, especially at the time that it currently is. It's like mid-afternoon. A nice moussaka would go very nicely right about now. So the words that we're going to need for ordering. So we would like θα θέλαμε. So I'm going to give you a sentence. Θα θέλαμε, obviously it's going to be a moussaka. Θα θέλαμε έναν μουσακά. Θα θέλαμε έναν μουσακά. Θα θέλαμε έναν μουσακά. So we would like a moussaka. And for one, you will hear ένα, which means one, or you also might hear μία, which is also meaning one. Ένα is for masculine nouns and μία is for feminine, but we will cover this a little further on for like the two things that are probably most useful for.
Correct. And you can proceed by adding the rest of your order and add the word και, which means and. And also for drinks, we just mentioned the masculine and the feminine. So for example, you can say we will drink a wine and a beer. So one wine and one beer. So you will say θα πιούμε ένα κρασί και μία μπύρα. Θα πιούμε ένα κρασί και μία μπύρα.
Θα πιούμε ένα κρασί και μία μπύρα. So we will drink or we will have one wine and one beer. So you can see the difference between the masculine and feminine, ένα and μία. During your meal.
Yeah, what can you say during the meal? So you can say things like, enjoy the meal, which is καλή όρεξη. So that's καλή όρεξη. And one more time, καλή όρεξη. And then saying how you find your meal. So I'm not going to assume the meal will be fantastic. So you can say το φαγητό είναι τέλειο, which means it's perfect. Το φαγητό είναι τέλειο. Or if you want to say it's fantastic, you say το φαγητό είναι φανταστικό. Το φαγητό είναι φανταστικό.
And finally, all good things come to an end. You're going to potentially get the bill. So before that, though, some tavernas do offer a dessert on the house, also known as ένα μικρό γλυκό, which is a small sweet or actually a dessert. Mm-hmm. And we all know, people that know Maria will know what would you be rooting for, Maria, if you got a dessert of choice.
Most probably portokalopita.
Do you want to explain what portokalopita is?
So it's an orange pie. It's a syrupy orange pie, which is just divine. And they sometimes bring it with ice cream. But I would like to add here that ένα μικρό γλυκό, sometimes some tavernas will refer to it as κεραστικό, which means an offering. Yeah,
because they do say να κεράσουμε, which means shall we offer you something. Very good. So when you are going to be asking for the bill, and this is something many people, when they go to Greece, ask me, how can we ask for the bill? So asking for the bill it's quite a hard one. So we'll do it slowly. Τον λογαριασμό, παρακαλώ. So the bill, please. Τον λογαριασμό, παρακαλώ. And Maria, do you want to do the third time?
Of course. Τον λογαριασμό, παρακαλώ.
And also, you might be wondering about leaving a tip. And there is actually no fixed amount for tips in Greece, really, is there, Maria? Unlike in the UK.
No, there isn't. There isn't. And there's no rule of thumb either, because the 10% rule, the minimum 10% rule, which applies in most countries, doesn't seem to apply in Greece. And because I always try to tip approximately 10%, my friends in Greece are always like, oh my God, that's too much. But I think depending on the service, feel free to tip a 10% tip because, I mean, if you have been happy with the service, then what a better way than to show your appreciation by giving them a generous tip.
Perfect. So, right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of this bite-sized learning Greek episode at the Taverna, where we learn what you can do before going to the restaurant, during your dining experience, and how to ask for the bill at the end of your meal.
So what should our listeners wait for in Bitesize Greek episode 4, George?
So stay tuned for Bitesize Greek episode 4, where we will be at the baraki. Now I'm sure you can guess what that means.
Oh. So until the next episode, make sure you follow us at My Greek Island on Instagram and to send us your bite-sized Greek learning request.
Γεια σας. Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag at My Greek Island on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.